My husband threw divorce papers at me on our anniversary and gave me 2 days to pack my life into boxes. Said his 23-year-old assistant made him feel alive again. I left without begging. 6 months later, he showed up at my door, broken and desperate. But Karma, she had other plans. Before we dive into this story, do me a favor, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications because you're not going to want to miss how this unfolds. And trust me, this gets good. Let's get into it. So let me take you back to the worst day of my life. March 15th, our 12th anniversary. I'm Angela, and I was 38 years old, driving home with a gift bag in my passenger seat and this stupid grin on my face. I'd bought Kevin this vintage watch he'd been eyeing for months. Expensive, but I didn't care. 12 years deserved celebrating, right? I walked into our house, our beautiful house, that I'd spent years making into a home, and immediately felt something was off. The lights were all on, but the place felt cold, empty. Kevin was sitting at our dining table, the one we'd picked out together at that antique store in Charleston. But there was no candles, no wine, no smile on his face, just a manila folder sitting in front of him. I remember laughing nervously, asking if he'd forgotten what day it was. He looked at me with these dead eyes that used to light up when I walked into a room, and he said, "I know exactly what day it is. That's why I'm doing this now." He slid the folder across the table, divorce papers, already signed on his end. And then came the words that shattered my entire world. "You have 48 hours to pack your things and leave. I need you out by Friday." I couldn't breathe. I literally couldn't breathe. I asked him if this was some kind of sick joke, and that's when he told me. Her name was Brittany, 23 years old, his new assistant, and apparently, she made him feel alive again in ways I never could. He said it just like that, cold, clinical, like he was firing an employee, not ending a 12-year marriage. He told me he'd already found an apartment for them, already moved some of his stuff out. This wasn't a cry for help or a moment of weakness. This was calculated, planned, final. I stood there in my work clothes, holding that stupid gift bag, and I felt like the floor was crumbling beneath my feet. I wanted to scream, to beg, to ask him what happened to us. But you know what? I didn't. I just nodded, walked to our bedroom, and closed the door. That night, while he slept in the guest room, I lay in our bed, staring at the ceiling, replaying our entire relationship like a movie. We met in college. I was 26, working 2 jobs while finishing my degree. He was 29, with big dreams about starting his own consulting firm, but no money to make it happen. I believed in him. God, I believed in him so much. I put my own dreams on hold, dropped out of nursing school to work full-time so I could support us both. I put him through business school, worked overtime to fund his startup, ate ramen for dinner so he could take clients out for steaks. And when his business finally took off, when the money finally started coming in, I was so proud, so happy for us. We tried for years to have a baby, years of negative tests, failed treatments, and doctors telling us it might never happen. It broke something between us. He never said it was my fault, but I felt it in the way he looked at me, like I was incomplete, like I'd failed at the one thing women are supposed to do naturally. Over the past year, he'd grown distant, working late, new cologne, suddenly caring about the gym. I noticed everything but convinced myself I was being paranoid, that he was just stressed, that we were just in a rough patch. Every marriage has them, right? Wrong. Those 48 hours were the longest of my life. Kevin stayed in the house, walking around like I was already gone. At one point, his mother called. I thought maybe she'd talk sense into him, but instead, she told me I should have tried harder to keep myself up, said maybe if I'd lost weight or dressed better, her son wouldn't have strayed. I hung up on her. I packed 12 years of my life into cardboard boxes while my husband sat in the living room on his phone, probably texting her. Every photo album, every wedding gift, every piece of myself I'd poured into that house, boxed up like garbage, And the worst part? He watched me struggle with the heavy boxes and never once offered to help. On Friday morning, I loaded the last box into my car. Brittany had already posted photos on Instagram. Her and Kevin at some fancy restaurant, his arm around her waist, both of them smiling like they'd won the lottery. People were already commenting, congratulating them, like I didn't exist. Like our marriage meant nothing. I handed Kevin the house keys, and he didn't even look me in the eye, just took them and closed the door. 12 years, gone in 48 hours. I moved into a tiny one-bedroom apartment across town, the kind of place with thin walls and flickering hallway lights. I'd gone from a 4-bedroom house with a garden to 400 square feet of depression. I called in sick to work for a week because I couldn't stop crying, couldn't eat, couldn't sleep, just sat on my air mattress, scrolling through social media, torturing myself with their perfect new life. Kevin looked so happy, so free, like he'd been released from prison. And Brittany? She was posting everything. Designer bags he bought her, weekend trips to Miami, champagne brunches. Meanwhile, I was discovering that Kevin had drained our joint savings account and maxed out our credit cards. I had nothing, less than nothing. My best friend Monique finally staged an intervention. She showed up at my apartment, took one look at me, and said, "Enough. You gave that man everything. Now you're going to give yourself something." She wasn't gentle about it, told me I needed therapy, told me I needed to stop watching his life fall apart, or come together, or whatever it was doing. Told me the best thing I could do was block him on everything and pretend he didn't exist. And she was right. I made an appointment with a therapist who helped me understand that I'd made Kevin my entire identity, that I'd given up nursing school, my hobbies, my friends, everything that made me me, to become his support system. She asked me a question that changed everything. Who is Angela without Kevin? I didn't have an answer, and that terrified me. So I decided to find out. I enrolled back in nursing school to finish my degree. Started running every morning, not to lose weight for anyone else, but because it cleared my head. Picked up painting again, something I'd loved in college but abandoned. I deleted all my social media apps, blocked Kevin's number, cut off every single connection to my old life. It was hard. God, it was so hard. There were days I wanted to check on him, days I convinced myself that maybe if he saw me improving, he'd realize his mistake. But Monique would remind me, "You're not doing this for him. You're doing this for you." Months passed. I threw myself into school, made new friends in my classes, and landed a job at one of the best hospitals in the city. I bought myself a new car, nothing fancy, but it was mine. Took a solo vacation to Savannah and didn't think about Kevin once. Well, maybe once, but just once. I started to feel like myself again. Not the girl who met Kevin in college, and definitely not the woman who'd bent herself into a pretzel trying to keep him happy. A new version of me, stronger, clearer, free. Meanwhile, through mutual friends who couldn't help themselves, I started hearing things. Brittany wasn't the innocent young thing Kevin thought she was. She had expensive taste, really expensive, designer everything, first-class flights, 5-star hotels. And Kevin was footing the bill for all of it, trying to keep up with her lifestyle. His business started struggling. Turns out, I'd been doing a lot more behind the scenes than he realized. Managing finances, organizing schedules, smoothing over client issues. Without me, things were falling apart. Then Brittany got caught texting other men. Kevin forgave her, of course. Probably couldn't admit he'd blown up his life for someone who didn't actually love him. By month 5, she'd left him. Found some tech executive with deeper pockets and a better portfolio. Just walked out on Kevin, the same way he'd walked out on me. Poetic, really. His social media went dark. Friends said he'd gained weight, looked exhausted all the time. The business officially filed for bankruptcy. He had to move back in with his mother, the same mother who'd blamed me for everything. And apparently, she'd changed her tune too. Started telling people she never liked Brittany, that she'd always known I was the one. Too little, Too late, lady. Kevin started asking mutual friends about me, where I was living, if I was seeing anyone, what I was doing. And when they told him I'd finished nursing school, bought a house, got promoted to head nurse, I heard he just sat there in silence. Then came the email. My friend showed it to me because I'd blocked him everywhere. It said, "Angela, I made a terrible mistake. Please, can we just talk? I need to see you." I deleted it, didn't respond, didn't acknowledge it, nothing. But Kevin didn't stop. He showed up at my workplace one afternoon, looking nothing like the confident man who'd handed me those divorce papers. He looked broken, desperate. Security escorted him out, and I requested a formal no-contact order. He sent flowers to my house, letters through the mail, all of them saying the same thing. He was sorry, he'd made a mistake, he wanted me back, he'd do anything. 6 months after he'd thrown me away, Kevin showed up at my doorstep. It was a Saturday morning, and I'd just gotten back from a run. I opened the door, and there he was, unshaven, wrinkled clothes, eyes red from crying. "Angela, please, just hear me out," he said, his voice cracking. I didn't slam the door, I didn't yell. I just stood there, looking at this man I'd once loved more than anything, and felt nothing. No anger, no sadness, just indifference. He started talking fast, words tumbling out, like if he said them quick enough, they'd somehow fix everything. He told me Brittany had cheated on him multiple times, took his money, and ran. That his business collapsed because I was the one who'd actually kept everything running. That he was living with his mother and working some entry-level job just to pay off debt. "You were my everything," he said, tears streaming down his face. I was an idiot. I threw away the only real thing I ever had. "Please, I'll go to therapy. I'll sign whatever you want. Just give me another chance." I let him finish, let him get it all out. And then I spoke, calm and clear. "Kevin, you didn't just break my heart. You disrespected 12 years of partnership. You threw me away like I was garbage the moment you thought you found something better. You watched me pack up my life in 2 days and didn't feel a thing." He tried to interrupt, but I held up my hand. "I'm not angry anymore. I've actually forgiven you, but not for us. For me. Because holding on to that anger was poisoning me. But forgiveness doesn't mean reconciliation. You showed me exactly who you are, and I believe you. We're done. Forever." He broke down completely, begging. But I just shook my head. "You need to leave now." As he turned to walk away, another car pulled up. Lawrence, this wonderful man I'd met in nursing school. He's a physical therapist, kind, funny, emotionally available, everything Kevin never was. We'd been taking things slow, building an actual friendship first. Lawrence walked up with coffee and greeted me with that warm smile that makes my heart do little flips. Kevin saw it, saw the way I lit up, saw that I wasn't just surviving without him, I was thriving. The look on Kevin's face was something I'll never forget. Pure devastation. The realization that he'd really lost me, not to time or distance, but to his own choices. That was 3 months ago now. Kevin's still struggling, last I heard, working his way back up from rock bottom. His mother actually reached out to apologize, and we get coffee sometimes. She admitted she was wrong about everything. Brittany married that tech guy after 3 months, already divorced. Apparently she has a pattern. As for me, I'm the head nurse at the hospital now. I own a beautiful little house with a garden. Lawrence and I are still taking things slow, but it feels right, real, built on mutual respect and genuine affection. I don't hate Kevin anymore. Honestly, I don't feel much of anything toward him. And that's the real freedom, the real power, understanding that his loss wasn't my failure, it was my release. Sometimes the trash takes itself out, and sometimes, when someone shows you who they really are, the best thing you can do is thank them for freeing you to become who you were always meant to be. So that's my story. If this resonated with you, or if you've been through something similar, Drop a comment below. Let's support each other. And listen, if you enjoyed this video, smash that like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and share this with someone who needs to hear that they are enough, with or without that person who walked away. You deserve better, and trust me, better is coming. I'll see you in the next one. Stay strong, sis.